all coming out.
Hey, what's up, guys? Look at that Firebird.
Oh, yeah. Happy Tuesday, everyone. Oh, dude, that sounds great, man. So tonight we got a special night here. Let me bring the volume down a little bit in the backyard. Tonight we have Justin Johnson with us tonight. And this is his most recent video. It's a Bob Dylan cover of Don't Think Twice. I'm going to give everybody a minute to get on here, make sure everybody's populated. And I just want to say hi. You got US Elite Ski on here. We got Vandy. Special shout out to Vandy, who made this all happen. He reached out to Justin and his crew. And you got a lot of fans on here, brother. Mark, good to see you. Cashew, good to see you. You got people starting to come in here. All right, let me bring this down here. How do I do this here? Yeah. All right, let me bring this down. Very cool. So, there you are.
It's good to be on the show, man. Glad to be here, brother.
Dude, I really appreciate it. So, you got a lot of fans on my channel. So if you're only loosely familiar with my channel, we play a lot of music on here. We react to it, we analyze it, and it's really all about sharing the stuff that that we love, and trying to turn people on to new music. And you have been requested constantly. I have hundreds and hundreds of emails and YouTube comments and uploaded videos on my website, because I got a whole section of my website based on what the next suggestion should be. And so when Vandy reached out to me and he was like, "Hey, I hope it's okay. I reached out to Justin's crew and wanted to get him on the channel." I was like, "Of course, absolutely." So I just wanted to say thank you so much for jumping on here, and it's a pleasure to meet you. And your video,
it's a pleasure to be on, and hey, I want to thank everyone who wanted me on too. That's awesome, and this is really fun. Just what I love about your channel too is that I think one of my favorite things to do is just hang out with people who love the same thing you do and talk about what you love, which in our case is music and guitars, and like your reaction videos, different things like that. It's just fun to. It's like over the internet, you get to just hang out and talk about guitars and guitar players and what's going on, what your thoughts are. And I think that's how you learn a lot too, doing that way.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just like we used to. When you're young, you get together with your friends and be like, "Oh, you got a track? Let me show you something. Now let me show you something."
Exactly. Yeah.
And in 2020, when nothing makes sense and up is down and left is right and all that, it's good that even if we can't actually be together, we can get together on here. And we can say, "Hey, check this out. Check this out." And yeah, that's what it's all about, man.
And I'll tell you too, like when I first started playing, and I know I'm sure you got a bunch of stories like this too. But it's like I would always have luckily when I was learning guitar, my mom was a DJ, so she had like binders and binders of CDs to learn from and that kind
Very
of thing.
cool.
But once YouTube came out, and like I already had like as many DVDs as I could get, you know what I mean, of different players to actually watch them play, because it's a whole different thing when you watch someone play than when you just listen to them, when you're trying to learn the techniques and things like that. But it's so awesome now that we live in an age when you can just type in someone's name online and pull up countless videos of them and pick out those little parts, pick out those riffs and things like that, because to me, that's the best way to learn music, and is to you can slow it down, you know what I mean? Pick out the notes, pick out the techniques and everything like that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I wish, man, I mean, you're right. We had the DVDs, but, can you imagine like when we were, teenagers or even younger, having YouTube now and be able to basically look up like anything at the drop of a hat? for
And not
free.
knowing any other way, yeah. I mean,
A-
it's got. I think that's going to make people better and better over time too. That access, you know.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's good and it's bad, but you know,
Yeah,
for those of us that are trying to learn and share new things, especially if you don't have much money, like it's just it's great. And I'm not one of those people that thinks like, oh, if you watch the video, it's kind of cheating. You know, you should only use your ear. It's like, no, man, you see the vibrato. You know, you learn so much by watching someone's pick attack and how they hold it
exactly.
and all the different tunings maybe that you wouldn't be able to initially just pick up by ear. It's great
Yeah.
to see.
Hmm.
Now, one thing, there's a bunch of stuff I want to talk to you about, but one thing that you do really really well. I don't know how long you've been on YouTube and when you kind of made that switch or made it a main focus of yours, but to your point, you make really good videos. Like, let me bring this up. Like, it really, like, you can really see what you're doing. And in the style of music that you play, it's really recorded well. And the camera shots, I don't know if you set that up, if you have someone kind of do it for you, because they seem to move a lot. But it really is not just a joy to watch, but it's for people who are trying to learn what you're doing. You can see and hear it really, really well. You do a great job, not just of playing, but the actual video, dude.
Well, thanks, man. And it is something, you know, and you know too, for making so many videos. I think you watch it if you don't know a lot about making videos, and you can kind of just enjoy it and consume it. But when you know about the work that goes into those kinds of,
Yes.
you know, even if something looks incredibly casual, a lot of times it's not. But you know, I think the main thing is I really care about the way that it comes across, and I love, from my point of view, seeing things that are you know, well, like I just said, you want to be able to see a guitar player's hands. You want to be able to like feel like you're there in front of them, and everything we shoot on the you know YouTube channel, everything like that is me and my wife Nikki. She's always the one behind the camera, and generally it's one camera, but sometimes we'll set up two. But the goal is always to get the best quality recording, and you know, setting up microphones and different things. I always you know kind of mix and master to the best of my abilities everything we do, so that it comes across in a way that's very like you know big and organic. You can hear everything even if you're on an iPhone a lot of times, and that can
Yeah.
be a challenge. But you know, we just wanted to be the best thing that we can put out, because we want it to be that way. We want it to be that way to the people who listen to it and enjoy it. And you know, it's like this is fun doing the same thing and just hanging out and having people out there in the community. Um, you know, we give what we have and they give back, and it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing, especially when we can't go out and play live. We
Dude.
can't do a lot of the things right now. This is sort of like the closest we can all be at this time in our life right now on Earth, and I think it's pushing a lot of these things forward in a positive way, you know?
Absolutely. And I want to talk a little bit about your journey and where you're from and how you got started on YouTube. Before we do that, I know that the mods are putting this in the chat for everybody just joining us. We have Justin Johnson here, and I know that you're running a Black Friday sale. The mods are dropping links, and you're doing a guitar giveaway, which I think you're even going to show us tonight. Is that right?
Oh yeah, yeah. I've got the guitar over here for sure. I just saw I was in like private chat there. I didn't see anything. Now I see the comments up there.
Oh,
So
there you. Oh, yeah. The private
yeah.
chat is if you want to say, Michael, get off this subject. I told you that we
Oh,
don't
okay.
want to
Well,
talk
that's good to
about
know
this.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
You see
Mayday,
me typing,
Mayday.
you'll know I'm being evasive.
Yeah, no, no. That's the only rule is that you can pull the ripcord anytime you want in the private chat.
I love it.
So, where are you based out of? Where are you from?
I'm in Nashville, Tennessee.
Okay, and so when did you start making YouTube videos? And I'm assuming before you started doing all that, this is what you do full time. You're a lifer. You play out constantly. So tell me a little bit about, for people that aren't familiar, a little bit about your story and what brought you to making these videos and doing this.
It was kind of you know following a natural path of what seemed to be the most positive and like the most successful thing, I guess, in a sense. But to connect, I think with that, like everyone thinks, to connect with as many people as possible.
Yeah.
The internet's, of course, a worldwide stage. And I've kind of always struggled in a sense with the music that I've genuinely made on my own. When it's like in a local scene, it's difficult to be an instrumental guitarist, or you say, you go into, and I've gone into literally thousands of, bars, dives, restaurants, cafes, anywhere that might possibly consider live music. Gone in there when I first started out with any kind of lousy recording I had made of myself at the time or something, and tried to book gigs, played thousands and thousands of shows like that over the years, and eventually built a career in that path that was getting more and more successful, touring, different continents and things like that as a soloist, and feeling good about it. But I think that it was that idea. I think rationally, I started realizing that lifestyle, for one, is a very difficult lifestyle to live, and
Yeah.
and there's a lot of fun in it, but there's also a lot of danger in it, a lot of challenges, that kind of thing. But at the same time that we were doing that, and I say we, I'm talking about me and my wife Nikki again.
Did she play
We
with
were
you?
She doesn't play, but she does. So much behind the scenes. Like
Yes.
everything is,
Yes.
it's all like we're kind of like the team of us together. We sort of do what I guess not normally maybe 10 or more people might do on a normal basis for a
Yeah.
music career or something like that. But she was handling and growing like the social media aspects of what we were doing to promote what we were doing live and that kind of thing. And as that was growing, we started realizing that's not only a marketing, I guess you could say, marketing platform, but we started filming videos and kind of off the cuff things. And those were getting a better response than I guess, we ever could have expected. And so we started feeling more and more sort of like not appreciated, in the sense that it's
Mm.
difficult, for example, again, as a soloist, to say, this is who we are, and someone understand it. We're not I'm not a conventional act in the sense of like a big live stage or something like that. But in the on the internet, it's a very democratic thing. If people like it, they like listening to it, then they'll listen to it. All they have to
Yeah.
do is click, and that kind of thing. And so we ended up building a great following on. It started kind of on Facebook and moved over to Instagram and YouTube. And the more we did that, the more we really loved the idea of the internet being a stage, not just a way of connecting with people specifically. It is a great way of doing that, or not just a way of marketing. But it's like, it is to me my favorite stage, and it's kind of a perfect stage for the world that we live in, and,
Yeah,
and I don't think
totally.
it's much different than a stage, other than the fact that you can go enjoy the same show twice. And is that a contribution there? Is that from Fishing, Idaho?
Yes. So
Thanks,
so
man.
this is from one of the moderators, and Fishing is the man, by the way. He says a little something I think you'll both enjoy: motel radio streetlights. So one of the things that we do here, when we have guests, is I asked you to bring a couple tracks, right? Things that you're listening to or inspired you. But we also like to play tracks for the guests too and get their opinions on it.
Yeah.
And have fun. So Fishing, even though he's a moderator and knows that he doesn't have to donate, he wanted to make sure that he got his point across.
You don't get
and
missed in the chat over there.
and threw a 5 at you. So
I
thanks,
love it.
Fishing. We'll play that in a second here. But yeah, of course, I completely and totally agree. I mean, it's a strange world right now, but there's still plenty of people out there that love music. We miss live music, but even though we're all stuck in our houses, we're doing this, and we're finding people that we otherwise wouldn't find, and it's given people a new voice, a new lane, and I know I feel it, and you're obviously embracing it, and it's just, if you're on the right side of it, it's a great thing that's happening.
Oh, absolutely, and that's a good thing too, in the sense that I think that's the having to be isolated right now at this time has put a lot of pressure on a lot of people to become familiar with the internet in ways they might not have ever become familiar with in any other circumstance. And I think that's still going to carry over even once we're all past this and everyone's, can be around each other again.
Yeah, I know,
It's going
right?
to still remain that
Cool.
way.
Well, I'll tell you what. Let's take Fishing's request here. We'll play a tune, and we usually let things go for a couple minutes, and then when we jump back in, we'll talk about some of your influences. Play one of the tracks that you sent me, and then people want to see you play the guitar. Maybe show the guitar you're going to give away. People want to see the shovel. And guys, if you have any other requests or if you have any questions for Justin, just drop them there in the chat, and the mods will do their best to get it to me, although it's not always the easiest thing. So check this out. Do you know Motel Radio?
I don't know.
Me neither. Welcome to the joy of this channel.
What's cool about this?
Yeah, so here we go. This is from Fishing. Here we go. Love the shaker.
The patience of all the other musicians, it's like not everyone has to be playing it all at once.
All those buildings, tall like weeds, they grow. Lights in offices, on and off they go. But everyone's alone. And the city's swallowed in
One of the basics isn't just doing the 1/5 over this too. You got a different sort of a bass approach. That's cool.
I'm sorry, I missed you. What'd you say?
Oh, I think when someone's doing that kind of Travis picking style guitar part, it's really easy for the bass player to just do the 1/5,
Yeah.
kind of bass line. The different bass line takes it out of that kind of bluegrass context and changes it, and I think it makes it a little more modern.
Totally agree. Here, we'll play a little more.
If you thought about me still, so I came to see you, played in broken streets, every sidewalk held a mystery. We held the key. When it started raining, we ran like trains till we found the bus stop that I held you underneath till you fell asleep. The streetlights lit you up like a cigarette. Kind of glow that a man don't wanna quit.
They sound pretty damn good.
Yeah, I love that. I get so caught up listening to music like that in the arrangement of it, and
Yeah.
I'm sure that it probably had good lyrics, but I honestly didn't hear a single one because my mind automatically went to sort of the soundscape. Like I liked how it started with kind of the guitar, and then just the kick drum, and
Yeah.
then when that first verse came in, it was like electric guitar, bass, background vocals, the shaker with the kick drum, everything like that, and that's sort of when. It's like the song had already been about a minute long, but it's almost like to your mind it just started. And one of the things I think that I've learned more playing like fingerstyle or solo arrangements of songs is appreciating more and more how all those different parts intermingle and how when you sing something in your mind, like when you're thinking of how that song went, a lot of times it's an unexpected part. Like it could be the shaker, like the shaker was really prominent in that, or you find yourself doing one of those like in between lyrics, or you find yourself going boom, 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 doing something like the bass. And that's always like what fascinates me about songs is what it is that hooks you mentally and gets you interested in it.
Yeah, I'm so guilty of the same thing as someone who has never really been much of a songwriter per se, but been in support, as a member of a band, in all my different musical incarnations. My ear immediately is drawn to the arrangement and the instrumentation, and who's doing what and who's voice leading with this and who's filling this space in that. Like, I'm totally with you.
Yeah, and if someone fell out, you might not even hear them, but as soon as they stop playing, you hear that they stopped, or you know what I mean? That's always the thing.
Yeah. All right. So, thank you so much for that, Fishing. And again, guys, if you have any other requests or any questions for Justin, go ahead and throw them up there. All right. So,
oh, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I saw someone ask about slack key guitar though, really quick. Ryan, someone, but
I'll try to find it up here. I had it on the screen.
I've always been fascinated with it, and I haven't gotten too much into it other than one riff, which I picked up. It's like an open G. I noticed like all the slack key guitar I've ever heard has that kind of riff in it. It's like, and it's just such a free and kind of open sound. I love it because it's got that like Hawaiian vibe, but not in the in the way that I think people think of the steel guitar having that kind of sleepwalk sort of vibe. So I'm gonna have to look more into that. I always thought I'd wait until I was like in Hawaii to learn that, because that would seem like the right time to do it. But
all right, let's go. We got a couple more super chats in here. I'll tell you what, before we do a super chat, why don't you show us the guitar that you're going to give away here? People have been asking about that. Do you have that close to you?
I do. It is right here.
Oh my God! Look at that thing. Let me solo you real quick.
Yeah, look at that baby.
So what is that?
So this is from Wild Custom Guitars, and it's kind of like a one-off promotional guitar that they made, and it's got this artist rendering that they etched into the top of the guitar. And Wild Customs was cool enough to basically donate this guitar to my YouTube channel, because I give away a guitar every 100,000 subscribers.
Nice.
And when right now I think I'm a little over 850,000 subscribers, and when I get to 900,000, I'm going to be picking someone to give this guitar away to. And I've got a video on my channel where I basically announced the giveaway. It's the last one I did like that. And I don't know, I think we sent you guys a link. I don't know if it's in the chat there or not.
Yeah,
but if
they're
you go
dropping
to that
it in
link,
the chat.
all you have to do is make a comment on that video that I posted, and I'm going to pick, from those comments, and someone's going to win this guitar. And we do that again every 100,000 subscribers, just to basically give something back to everything you guys are doing by watching what we do and being part of it. Let me see if I've got a channel here for the electric.
Yeah, you got it plugged in. Let's hear a little bit.
It's got a little buzz on there.
It's all right.
So do I. That's all right.
There, I'll solo you and let you play for a minute.
All right, cool.
Dude, I love that little run at the end.
Oh yeah, I love. It's one of those. I always love
Those banjo
finger
rolls.
picking, but I always, with people like Django Reinhardt, Doc Watson, they always have such fast single string stuff. So it's one of the.
So you're doing that on, it's like 3 on but 1 string. So like thumb and then 2 fingers, but it's
Yep,
it's all the
and it's
same
a-
string.
Thumb and then middle and then index. So
Yeah. Yeah. Love it. Love it. All right. So if you guys didn't pick up on that, Vandy just posted it in the chat here. If you want a chance
thanks, Vandy.
to win that guitar, click that link and you just have to drop a comment. Now, do they have to like have the best comment? Is it something that just catch your eye? Is the comment have to be about anything, or how are you going to do it randomly?
there's no real. It's one of those things where there's no variables that really play out in there. It's kind of like when it's time to pull it. Nikki and I go through and we collect a lot of the condiments. I almost said the comments, and we'll kind of get a list of a lot of them.
Yeah.
Randomly, just by scrolling down, like from the top to bottom, stopping
Yeah.
occasionally, picking out comments, and then picking from those ones. And it's kind of fun to do because we purposely don't like or love any of the comments in that video specifically because we don't want to make anyone think like they're, getting any special treatment. Because contests are difficult, even though they're so much fun. It's difficult when you're giving
Dude.
something away because
Don't I know it?
one person gets it and everyone else doesn't. But it's all fun, and that's also why we like to do it as often as possible. We do a big giveaway every 100,000 subscribers, but constantly in different videos, we're kind of surprising viewers by giving away guitars and different things like that. And it's just fun to do it. We like we like to do that kind of stuff.
Dude, me too, man. I just hit my first 100,000. I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago, and we're about to hit
Yeah.
200. And
I
I
know,
did a
man. Congratulations, that's awesome.
Thanks,
That's
dude.
fast.
I'm pumped. And we did a giveaway for 100, and I've done lots of giveaways before, and I'm going to do another one and a concert for 200. But every time I give one away, it's always people cry foul play.
It's heartbreaking,
Oh my,
Yeah.
oh my God! They think they think you got some, some cousin that's getting it or some,
That's why I stopped.
There's no,
judging
like-
contests a long time ago. like in person, that kind of thing.
yeah.
Because in person's the worst too, because you're right there in front of people, and
Yeah.
it's like you make more people unhappy than happy a lot of times with that kind of thing. But
Dude.
it's all good fun. I think everyone really appreciates it.
Ain't that the truth? All right. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's get into one of the tracks that you brought. So I asked you to bring a couple videos, and they could be influences that got you going, stuff you're listening to now. So which one do you want to do first, and why?
Let's do that R.L. Burnside first. I think people ask me a lot, what I'm listening to or a big influence, and it changes so much because I'm always listening to so many different things, and half the stuff I'm listening to is like Pandora or like starting something on YouTube and then letting it go forever or something like that.
Yeah.
But something like R.L. Burnside, when I'm building guitars, like in the workshop, he's always the person I put on to listen to, and it always makes me feel like I don't know, I'm like making a guitar, and this is what it should sound like. You know what I mean? There's
Got
something
it.
about the way he does it, and I think the video here is everyone should watch this entire video because it's like an hour or more long.
Yeah.
But this particular song is one of my favorite that he does because of all the percussive guitar effects, and his singing is just amazing.
All right. Well, let's play this. You gave me a timestamp at 9:28. How long are we going to go for? How long is this tune? A couple
Just
minutes?
However, yeah, it's a few minutes, but stop it whenever, I guess.
Okay. So we'll play that, and then when we're done, let's talk about all the instruments and stuff that you make and why. So and show some off. So here we go. Let's pull this up here, and bam.
skin that woman. Meat don't shake, meat don't shake. Meat, meat.
Jimbo, I see it. I see it.
Thanks, Vandy.
Thanks, Vandy Man.
Well, she won't cook no breakfast. Well, she won't wash no clothes. All she do is walk up and down, walk up and down, walk, walk, walk. Well, I don't want skin that woman. Well, I don't want skin that woman.
Doing that like tap
Meat
on the
don't
guitar.
shake it.
Perfect.
Meat don't shake it. Meat, meat, meat.
He always looks like he's cracking up when he's playing too.
Yes, he does.
Laughing at
Yes, he
people. I love
does.
it.
All right. Awesome. You know, I have not watched enough of his stuff. But I love those old guys. You're right. Like he looks like he's cracking up the whole time, just having a great time.
Yeah.
I don't want a skinny woman.
I love the thing I love about him though is he to me like he represents like that hill country blues style where it's got a lot of things in common with Delta blues, but it's more just straight rhythm and feel. And I think when you like blues in general, when you strip down techniques, you strip down like complexity, what you're left with is like more inflection and more like doing more with less. And that's I think always the kind of thing like people talk about. I first heard it with like BB King, you know, playing one note instead of like 100. But when you hear BB King do it, it's like you just kind of like savor it in a different way. But I love that he always has these kind of like you know I think everyone's kind of got a different like sort of rhythm. It's like a scratchy rhythm.
Yeah.
And it'll start there won't even be a riff in there. Like this isn't this is not even really notes or something, but it's kind of like a sound effect that happens like hitting a cymbal or something. And he always does this thing where he holds the guitar up here like
Yeah. I noticed a lot of those old blues guys do that.
it's just totally different vibe. I love it. There's no rules. It's like when you see people that didn't learn from like formal training, it's almost like you know they break all the rules because they didn't know they existed to begin with, and it's like the purest form of rule breaking. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's however they got it to work for them is what they do.
Yeah, whatever got them attention, something like that. You know, just acting crazy, doing something.
Yeah.
I love it.
So let's talk about you making instruments. So when did you start making all these crazy instruments, and just tell me about how all of that began, and then people obviously want to see the shovel and some other ones you might want to share.
Yeah, let me put this one up for a second. But any like I've always loved engineering. I've loved the art of making guitars, but I never really thought I would ever make a guitar for the longest time. But when I started, when I was really in the meat of touring constantly, there was like a 5-year period where Nikki and I were on the road full time. We sold everything. We moved into like this terrible repo RV that we could afford, and we lived in that full time for like 5 years touring around. One of the things that kind of naturally came from that is that we kind of fell into this like a group of people that really loved building their own instruments out of whatever was around, found objects. There's a really cool and long history behind that art form, and it's got a kind of a cool culture right now. But people kept coming out to shows with these crazy instruments, so like they'd bring out things like cigar box guitars and have like 3, 4, sometimes 1 string on them. And they basically bring them up to the stage and ask if I'd play it during the show. And it's like, well, yeah, let me see what I can play on this. And I'd kind of make up tunings and figure out how to play it, just kind of freestyling whatever I thought would work on whatever kind of instrument. Some of them had, piezos, and they were like feedback machines. And some of them were really well built and were like really awesome pieces of art. But I think learning how to do that in front of people too was a huge challenge. And I like challenges like that. I kind of like handicapping myself as a player because I feel like some of my favorite musicians were, either blind or like Django Reinhardt had, like 2.5 hands on it, or 2.5 fingers on his left hand.
Right.
But it's like, it always seems just like that, what's it? The one-armed boxer, like those old Kung Fu movies. It's always the handicap person is the biggest expert, like the best expert at something. And so I think it kind of plays into that also. But then as I started really loving these instruments and learning about the history behind them, I started, putting out, instructional material on them, DVDs, things like that for 3-string and 1-string diddly bows and all of that.
Yeah.
But I also, out of my passion for it, I'd like do these workshops, and I'd realize that people were coming to my workshops that I thought were going to be me talking about how to play the guitars, which a lot of it was. But people would come out and say, well, you know more about building these than I do in a lot of ways from the player's perspective, because I think a lot of these builders knew how to do things I didn't do at the time, which was like woodworking and the actual meat of building guitars, the techniques of that. But I knew more about what they should actually be doing when it comes to like building a guitar for someone who's actually going to play it.
Right.
And so my approach from the player's perspective, combined with me talking to and meeting and learning, going into the workshops of a lot of these people, because when we were on the road, we'd park in a lot of these people's front yards and plug into their house, and hang out in their workshop for a week or so at a time, and really get to know how to build these instruments and learn from, hundreds of different people around the world about how to do this. And it ended up becoming something I did naturally as an offshoot of that, is building my own instruments, and then me falling in love with the idea of building instruments and having, people who wanted them. That's a huge blessing when it comes to that, because then I can, share them with other people, and that's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so cool that people would actually come out to shows with this random stuff they built, and you would just plug it in right there, and you don't know what the hell you're going to get, but you just try to do it. I love it.
Warn the audience first.
Yeah. Now, I see a lot of super chats coming in here. Thank you guys so much. And yes, I am reading the comments. Mods, you're doing a great job. We're going to jump to some questions and do some of these super chats really soon. I see no username. I have no idea what currency that is, but thank you so much. Stuart, thank you so much. Dean, thank you so much. You guys know I split all my donations with my guests. So what we're going to do is, Justin, why don't you show us 1 or 2 of the things that you have made, and then I will, we'll jump to some of these super chats, and we'll listen to some things and take some questions.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
Well, I want to show you guys. You guys are all on this live stream. The first ones to see this. This is a special shovel guitar, because out of all the shovel guitars I've built, I've never actually kept one for myself. So I built, hundreds and hundreds of them, but I always end up selling them like on the road or something, like I'll play a show and I'll bring mine and I'll be like, oh man, this one's really nice. I'm going to keep this one or something like that. I always end up selling it. And I kind of like that because my philosophy with building anyways is I wouldn't sell it if I wouldn't play it anyways. But this one I'm not going to sell. This one was special. And right when Nick and I were like, I need to have one, I need to keep it. And then it was almost that day. There was an artist out in Greece who's a tattoo artist who asked if he could offer his artistic services basically to customize a shovel guitar for me. And so I sent him a shovel. Dude. And he did all this artwork on it.
Here, let me solo you there.
There we go. And just
digging
amazing, digging it. Put on there the eyeball, but the whole thing, front and back, is
Holy
just
shit. Look at that thing.
And it's covered in this beautiful like clear coat. It's got, I think it's like, I don't know, like euros, like coins. He's stuck in the
oh man,
shovel handle up there. But this just came out of the workshop, and I played it enough to test it, but I thought I'd play it for you guys kind of for the first time here on the live stream.
Dude,
but his name's Akili in Greece, and I don't think he's watching. I don't know if he is, but I wanted to
Does he have a link or anything you could drop in the private chat now, or that you can write it in the public chat here? I don't know.
I think his tattoo shop is like Santa Titas or something like that. It's in Greece. But he was really cool about it. We sent it out, and apparently it's very difficult to get a guitar through Greece customs. That was a huge ordeal. But
even if it's not wood,
it didn't matter. I don't know. It was a long process, but it was worth it. It was really cool. Let me get this amp turned up.
Yeah, you got it plugged in here. I love it.
And so again, the thing that's cool about the shovel guitar, it's basically an archtop guitar. So you see the way that the shovel's shaped. You get the same kind of break angle, and the tempered steel is really resonant. It sustains forever. And let me get my slide here.
Dude, I love it. Dude, I love it. Are you you're in G, right?
Yeah, G-ish, I think. yeah, it should be in G.
The neighborhood of G.
Mm-hmm.
Let me, let's see if this works. Let me see if I can do a little, just. Let's see if you can play with it. Yeah. It's
What's that? I think you cut out there for a second.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really hard to get right with the delay, but it's
I
worth
know,
trying.
yeah,
it's worth
terrible.
trying.
One of these days that's gonna work. It's gonna be awesome, you know.
You know, it really the beauty of using this software is that it's browser based. So is if you have fast internet and I have fast internet, it's pretty damn close. You know what I mean? And if we're both have headphones on, I mean, I don't know how that sounded. Everybody out there, you can let us know if we were like close, but it sounded pretty close. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw someone mention Ian McDonald out there too. I think it was Andrew. I wanted to give a shout out to both of you guys. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, right on. Well, you know what? Let's take some questions here. Why don't you see if anything pops up? Actually, I have a question for you. So you say you sell all your guitars. Do you make them to sell them? Do you sell them on your website, or is it always like at shows? Like,
No, we've got several on the website at justinjohnsonstore.com.
Okay.
And I've got my signature shovel guitar, signature whiskey barrel guitar, which I've got over here. And I also, on my Etsy store, I've also got an Etsy store where I also will occasionally put up different guitars from my collection and sell those as well. So it's fun to check out whatever's available on there from time to time. But I just made a few one-string diddly bows because I recently released an instructional DVD on those.
Nice.
And I just
Nice.
3 more just came out of my workshop the other day. So those are on my Etsy store too. But all those links also can be found at my website at justinjohnsonlive.com.
Very cool. I love it. All right, Forgotten Hope says, how do you come up with tunings? Now, so like what's the shovel tuned
Good
in? Like what,
question. Well, right now I've got it tuned in Open G, and again, it's a 3-string shovel. So that's the A, the D, and the G string from a standard 6-string pack. I was always intimidated by alternate tunings. I always played in standard tuning for probably the first easily 10 to 12 years of playing guitar, stubbornly, always standard tuning. I felt at the time like the more I practiced in standard, the better I would be at standard. And if I split my time in other tunings, it might sort of dilute what I could do in standard tuning. And I thought
I'm kind of in that place right now.
Yeah, I kind of thought theoretically that made complete rational sense until I started actually tuning in alternate tunings. And it really started with a lot of these obscure sort of like 3 and 4 stringed instruments because I'd have to come up with different tunings. What I realized doing that is that in putting it in these different tunings, I stopped playing based on patterns and I started opening up more with what I could do with actually like intentionally playing music and not doing some kind of like math formula on the fretboard. And that's like, I think one of the biggest challenges once you reach a certain level where you can play a lot of things, like, it's easy to get comfortable there and sort of is like lose grip of where maybe you started from. I don't know, because it felt like starting back over again. And then when I learned how to, use, let's say, the patterns on a 3-string in like a 1-5, like a root 5 root tuning. It's not major, it's not minor. When you do a bar chord, you have to kind of stretch for things, but you see these patterns emerge. And then I realized like playing the mandolin, which is tuned all in fifths, it's like the first 2 strings of that tuning is tuned in fifths and then it's tuned in fourths. So you get these chunks of different instruments. And then, playing banjo or then playing slide guitar, like I learned slide guitar in standard tuning, then learning guitar in open G tuning, and then open A. And I realized open A and open G are pretty much the same tuning. They're just a whole step apart. And you realize like all of these are so simple. Once you kind of internalize one, the next one is easier. It's just that first step that's kind of difficult. And like drop D tuning, it's like the bottom 3 strings are kind of like the tuning I'm in now. It's that, root 5th root tuning. And I think I start getting heady, like in my explanation of this. If you're intimidated by open tunings and I start talking about all these different tunings, that's kind of what intimidated me at first, is all these different options. but I would just start. That's always the most difficult part. Start, learn a song in an open tuning, learn how the scale works in an open tuning, and then sort of piece that together. It's going to take a little while to get it to naturally fall under your fingers, but man, it has opened up so many doors for me. And now, to answer your question, how do I come up with tunings? I do it now based on the song. So I'll learn the bass line, figure out what bass line works best with this song in a specific tuning, and kind of separate the bass 2 strings from the rest of the instrument. The melody works best over this pattern. The bass works best over this pattern in the bass strings. And then I kind of try to marry the two together.
No, that's so and what you're saying makes complete sense to me when I watched that Krull and Kingsnake video. You know, that I get that that's what you did, and what you say is so true. That when you are in the mindset of, okay, I'm learning standard tuning, I'm learning all my shapes and my blah 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 blah. You don't want to jump out of that because, you know, you want your ear and your eyes and your fingers to all be doing the same thing. But there's a purity to when you first play and when you jump into a different tuning, because you're like, okay, it's just the sound now. You know what
I'm
I
a
mean?
beginner again.
It's like, does this sound good? Does this? I can't quantify all of it, right? Because I can't
Exactly.
use my eyes and my muscle memory to, like, I got to figure it out again. And it totally play things you otherwise wouldn't. And it's something I'm kind of telling myself at this moment that I need to do, because I'm so in that lane of what you're talking about. We're like, no, I could spend the whole rest of my life on standard, like, and I'll never get it down. Like, I got to just stick with it.
And you could, and that's the thing, you know, that's like the,
I know.
you know, and it's a good argument, but I used it personally as an argument, I think, to, like, not feel insecure about sounding bad, doing something new. And it's like, oh, I felt good doing this, I'm going to feel bad sucking at this. You know what I mean? And it's like,
Yeah.
And that to me is the sign of like a good, not just guitar player, but anyone who's getting better. If you don't feel like you suck, you're not getting better. You know what I mean? And that's just the key to it from my experience. And thanks to Garrick too. I think he popped up on the screen there. I wanted to say hey to him.
Yeah, man. He shot you a 10, so you helped him get going on the cigar box. That's awesome.
Awesome, man. That's awesome.
So we got a bunch of questions here about slide. So you got, you know, Love likes your slide. Deuce wants to know, how should one get started playing slide? How'd you get started playing slide? What advice would you have for people that want to get into it?
So, like I said, I learned slide guitar in standard tuning originally, and let me pull out this guitar here.
Sure. Slide is something I've never really gotten too great at, but I'd love to.
The thing with slide, that's not in standard tuning. But let me get this to standard tuning. Here we go. Let's see.
Go for it. Go for
luckily,
it.
it's got a built-in tuner. That makes it easy. So, but
Andrew,
the thing is, like, oh, go ahead.
Oh, no. I was just going to say, Andrew just said Ian McDonald made your cigar box guitar.
Oh, he's made several of mine. Yeah, Ian's. I've got several of his instruments, and he actually has come down on several of my albums and played. He's a great guy. He's out from the UK, and builds some killer instruments too. And
Kim Jong Un
thanks,
wants to
Andrew,
talk about slide too.
But you know, the thing, I think that if you think about slide, it's kind of like someone saying, like, okay, you feel comfortable on guitar, now do it with only one finger that you can't feel. It's like you have one paralyzed finger and you can't play with the rest of them. And it's like an extreme handicap. Plus you can't use frets anymore, which make you automatically play in tune if your guitar works, you know? And so there's all these different challenges that happen with it. There's a few, like in all of my instructional material for slide, I always start out, I think every single one, with the same fundamentals, which is really simple in a sense, but it's also important. And it took me years to learn. It's like, I think slide more than anything else gave me what I feel like is the feeling of progress, which is wanting to throw the guitar like out your window. And like,
That's how you know
giving
you're
up.
doing something.
Yeah, that's when you're sweating and you're uncomfortable and
Yeah.
you just want to
Yeah.
break your guitar and you want to go get like a sucky job doing something else,
Stay
And
with it.
it's
That's
like-
how you know you're on to it.
Exactly. That's how you know you're getting better, is if you feel frustrated.
Jerome, thank you very
and,
much.
Awesome, man. Thanks, brother. And so, but the thing that took me the longest to learn, again, I started in standard, and the tricky part about standard is that you can't play a whole chord. Like open tunings are tuned to an open chord, and you can move that up with one finger, one slide, and it still has the same harmony as you move it up and down the fretboard. The tricky part with standard is you have these little chord fragments, like you got your open E, maybe you got, the root and fifth up at the 12th fret, up in the 9th fret, you've got a nice little triad. You got like little. But if you ever play something that's you're leaving too many strings open,
Yeah.
and that's
Doesn't
if you're
fly.
playing in tune. So you've also got to hit the middle of the slide right where the fret is, because it's kind of replacing the fret
Right.
as it
right.
goes up and down. It's the right hand muting and the left hand muting with standard tuning that's the key to that. So if you when it's like it's all up at the 9th, but then when it goes up to a different position that's not harmonious, you have to mute every string you're not playing with this hand. Let me get it in the shot over there. There we go.
Yeah,
I'm
here,
just
here.
moving. It's that mirror effect.
I'll make you big.
Like, I think one of the most important techniques, though, is if I'm doing this riff, you notice I'm hitting the D and the G string with these two fingers, but the rest of my hand here, I'm muting these strings with my thumb, and I'm muting these strings with my other fingers. So I could strum, and it's only really those two strings that are actually sounding. Same thing there. See where I move my thumb over here to block the strings above it, and my fingers to block the strings below it. If I did the same riff without muting,
Right.
it could work, but it sounds a lot more messy. It would work over an open tuning, but not in standard, pretty
Yeah.
much. So that, and then keeping the thumb on the back of the neck. A lot of people like myself who play lead with their thumb over the neck,
Mm-hmm.
Go to play and slide, and you notice when you pull your thumb over the neck, your slide goes diagonal.
Yeah.
So you put your thumb behind the neck, and it naturally goes parallel with the frets. So I've had to change that about my playing with slide. As long as you do that, if you're parallel with the frets, your chords still line up. If you go diagonal, they don't. So
Yeah.
that's
yeah,
another like beginner technique that I think if you think about it that way and you're conscious of those things, there's a few things at the beginning that can save you a lot of time, basically. And I could talk for hours about it. I have plenty of times, but again, if you want to learn about my techniques and approach to slide, I do have a lot of DVDs on it in my website that you should check out that go in a lot of detail about those different things and open tunings and standard.
Yep, guys, and those links are in the chats. I'm seeing the mods drop them in there. I saw a bunch of comments about people asking, where you go to learn slides. So you already made it. Love it. Let's see if we can do let's see if we can do another one in tune here.
All right, cool.
You just doing Neighborhood of E. How about that?
Here's one. Here's a trick.
I love those turnarounds. I love those crazy backward turnarounds. What was that one you just did?
So that's one. That's one of my favorites right there. I figured out not too long ago. So there's two of my favorite bass lines combined. So you start at the major third, there on the low E on the fourth fret, and you go up.
Yep.
And then with the other part, you start at the 5th fret on the A string, my other favorite turnaround.
And go down to the 5th.
If you do them both at the same time, you gotta do that.
Yeah. I love that. Love it. Tim Carr, thank you so much.
Hey, thanks, Tim.
Yeah. All right, so let's jump into some super chats. Let's see what people sent us. You okay with that?
Oh yeah, man. Let's do it.
All right, so there's a bunch of them. So I'm going to read you a couple, and I'll let you pick if anything jumps out. Deuce DeMortis came in with a 5. Thank you, Deuce. Says, Captain Ivory, bottle, and a penitentiary. Do you know who that is?
Nope. Not sure, but it sounds fascinating.
All right. Let's give it a whirl here. I have no idea what this is. All right. Stand by here. He says, Dixboro Sessions. He says, glad to have you on the show. All right. Here we go. Add this to the stream here. So this is for you, Deuce. Thank you again for the support. We'll do a couple minutes, and we'll keep going here.
Hey, we're Captain Ivory. Thanks for tuning in with us. We're going to play you some songs tonight. Hope you enjoy. This one's called Bottle in the Penitentiary.
Good lighting.
Yeah, right.
Got that slow wah. I like that.
Yeah, dude, I love that.
He's a fellow mumbler. I love it.
All right, there you go. That's Captain Ivory for you, Deuce. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's cool sound. That I just think when I watch that, you know, these people love freaking playing live. You know, like
Dude,
they're having a blast out there.
Don't you miss it?
It's awesome.
All right, I got one more for you. So this is from No Username, and I think he was from Brazil. It said, here's something you guys most probably haven't heard. It's Miroslav Tadic plays his piece Rust Mule. He goes on to say, been subscribed to both of you for well over a year. What a pleasant surprise to see both of us. So, dude, thank you so
Thanks,
much.
man. That's awesome.
All right, I have
Good
no idea.
taste. You obviously have good taste.
Obviously. All right, let's see what this is all about. We get all kinds of random stuff on here.
I love it.
Yeah.
think you gotta have a hat like that to play like that. That is awesome.
I agree. I know that's so.
See, I gotta
that's so
make
catchy.
that face when I do it. I think he does that like he does those octaves like
Octaves,
that,
yeah.
which are cool. Like I usually do them like that, but there's the. I love that feel too. It sounds like one of those like Disney movies. I used to love the music like with cartoons when I was a kid, and I'd
Totally.
always just because they'd always mimic the actions of the cartoon characters. That sounds like some thief kind of like wandering around and tiptoeing.
And I feel like a lot of like that music that you're talking about. A lot of it's in 3 that bum 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 bum, bum like a lot of like waltzes. You know what I mean? You
Oh,
know,
yeah,
when
totally.
when they're digging around somewhere.
Then a lot of trills like
Yeah. Exactly. Yes. Okay, Dean Hostetter says thanks so much. Dean, thank you. All right, Danny Gable comes in. He says, Gray Zuliana, Felix Martin. Do you know who that is?
No, I don't. That would be another good one to.
Welcome to my world here.
I love
All
it.
right. Stand by. All right, let's bring this back in here. Okay, a 14-string guitar.
Psh, that's it.
I mean,
It's got like heavy metal drums behind that.
I know, right?
It's like stretches.
Acoustic gent.
I just love that he's playing an acoustic, instead of a distorted guitar. That's awesome.
Wild.
Yeah, like that's the kind of thing. Like I always liked, when you mix like a heavy drummer, and I think that the guitar player, I don't know, it's the first I've ever seen him. He comes
too.
across as someone who probably plays a lot of heavier music though too. But I love that he's playing the acoustic. I think that's what makes it cool, specifically on that track, is that that juxtaposition with the acoustic and that heavy sound, much more different. I think makes it much more interesting.
Totally. Okay, let's do one more, and then let's see. All right, Garrick Pridemore has a request for you, and so he wants to know if he could hear a little Rooster Blues. Saw you play that live years ago in Carborough, North Carolina. How do you feel about that?
You saw that in If you were there, was he there at that show? Because that was a long time ago. That's
Garrick,
awesome.
were you there? Garrick Pridemore, were you there? There's a little bit of delay in the chat, so he'll jump back in if he's still here. There he is. Look, he just.
Oh yeah, okay. So I'll play some Rooster Blues for sure. This was actually the first song I ever wrote on a cigar box guitar, or like a 3-string or 4-string guitar, and I'm tuning
Love
this
it.
now down. I just tuned the A string down to a G, and I tuned the E string down to a D. And I always call this like an open G hybrid tuning because it's standard tuning on the higher strings, higher pitched strings. I never get that right. Are they the low strings or are they the high strings? What? You're a guitar teacher. What is that?
These are the low, these are the high.
That's what I always say. Yeah, I've been
Yeah.
called out for that so many times. Low pitch, high pitch, right?
Yeah, totally.
Okay, yeah. So I tuned down the low
It's
strings,
pitch.
and I keep the high string standard, and so it's kind of like open G, except for the high E string is in standard instead of dropped a whole step. And let's put it in open G.
Yeah.
So this is the kind of rhythm with like Rooster Blues. Same thing with the song like Cranking It Up, which ended up, it was that song I did on the shovel guitar when I played that on that video. But it all kind of starts out with this this rhythm on my right hand.
I'll solo.
And that's kind of a broken down, like I get the root note, which is the G here, with my thumb, and then a backbeat with kind of a slap, and then I use my fingers to do the kind of secondary beat. Well, with Rooster Blues, it's kind of like this. Kind of break into the hill country blues. And on and on.
Yeah,
I kind of think about that kind of blues. I use the same changes, not intentionally, but I realized over time it's kind of the way that like EDM music works. It's like, you know, it'll start with like, and then it'll be like,
Yeah.
you know, and then it's kind of raise a little bit.
Yep.
And then the bass drop. So I think it has the
never
same like
thought
kind of
about it that way. But
emotional quality.
No, that makes so much sense. I love those driving rhythms like that. You know,
Oh yeah, me too.
I don't have it tuned like that, and I don't have quite the slap, but I love that just that real staccato, just that pull. You know, love that
Oh
groove.
yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, hey, thanks for it's good to reunite with you online over the years. If you were at that show, that was so early. That was years, and that was probably over 10 years ago when I played that show. And that was one of the first videos that ever got a lot of views that I did. And there was someone in the audience at that show who was filming it. It wasn't me, and he posted it, and it ended up getting a lot of attention. So that's cool.
Well, there you go. He says you made his night. He was
Awesome,
there.
man.
Very, very, very cool. All right, let's go on to your next one. The next link that you sent me here. So why don't you tell everybody what you chose and why you chose to share this?
So this next one is sort of like, in my mind, there's like an idea that I think every guitar player has of your like a technical virtuosity. You know what I mean? Just like pure technique in its like coolest form. And hey, thanks Anthony for that.
Anthony, thanks so
donation there.
much. He says,
And
what was the
what's that?
song you did at NAMM 17 with the Tonewood amp?
Oh, I'll talk about that after this.
Okay.
I'll talk about it. But
All right.
So this song though that you're about to play, there's this guitar player, and I think I found him found out about him on Pandora or something like that on a Django Reinhardt station, and his name's Andreas Oberg, and I ended up liking the songs that I heard there, and I got his album, and this I'd never heard any, like I hadn't heard a lot of Django Reinhardt even, and it was kind of like just starting for me, and he really got me into that whole musical genre. When I watch him play though, it's like we were talking about earlier, Mike, like when you see people and you have the ability to watch them on YouTube now, it's like you get this whole new access to these players. Like I remember like Nikki and I, when I'd be driving long, you know, from states apart, different shows when we were living in the RV. At one point, she was reading Django Reinhardt's autobiography, and he was talking about how if he wanted to learn like jazz music, he'd have to go sneak out and go to these, you know, sketchy bars in Paris when he was a kid, and he wasn't allowed in, so he'd have to listen to the music through the walls. You couldn't hear it, and now we can just go to YouTube and just watch it, you know. And like you were saying, it's kind of a double-edged sword, where maybe that might teach you some things that you wouldn't get if you had full access to it, like internalizing songs better and maybe sharpening your ears a little bit or something like that. But this, in a long story short, this song is like, to me, one of the most technically advanced and coolest performances I've ever seen on YouTube.
All right, well, let's pull it up. This is Limehouse Blues, and this is Frank Vignola and Andreas Oberg. Is that how you say his name?
I've never heard it said, so yeah, I've just read it.
Fair enough. Here we go.
You feel like playing a little Limehouse Blues?
Of course, Frank.
Yeah?
Of course.
Okay, here we go. One,
Here we
two,
go.
three.
With his right hand.
Oh, yeah. Walking bass line. Yeah, that's bananas. That's absolutely bananas. Fishing asks, you ever met and played with Joe Buck of Hank 3? He does a lot of similar stuff and lives in Nashville.
No, I haven't. That's
Do
a
you know
good
who he
question.
is?
No. The name's familiar, and I love Hank 3's stuff. I mean, Hank 3 always plays with like such killer musicians,
Oh yeah.
and so I probably know what he sounds like more than him like by name. But I'm gonna have to look him up after this. That's cool.
So do you play a lot of that gypsy jazz stuff? That is one genre I've always wanted to get into because it's like that, you know, it's got that bluegrassy flair, you know, but you know, obviously it's not. But just that crazy flat picking, like the technique those guys have and the cross picking is just like
It's insane. You know, I've
bananas.
studied a bit of it, you know, and mainly through, you know, videos and things like that. But I know from what I do know, it is a totally different approach than any other style of music. And that's why it sounds so kind of cosmic and exotic and everything. I know
Well,
a
like-
lot about, you know, Django and his history, his playing style. But I've never really like taken the time and gotten the tools to really dig into it authentically. I've faked it quite a bit, you know, because I love it. And there's certain techniques like I gotta find a flat pick around here. But,
so like when you talk about like different, like a very unique approach, like any other type of music, what exactly are you referring to? Like I know there's like the little bits that I've kind of poked around. You know, I know it's not, this is an oversimplified thing, but like a couple of the tunes that I messed around with, it was like a lot of moving similar shapes, like all like minor 6 chords, which could be looked at as like it's a half a minor chord and like half a dominant chord, so you can kind of like mix and match major and both, and they just move a lot. Like,
well, exactly. Well, you know, Django Reinhardt again, because he was he was the main guitar force behind developing that style of guitar playing. Only had basically these 2 fingers. He had he had burnt off half of his hand in a caravan fire. He had his thumb though, and so he'd chord a lot of shapes like that. And so that's why a lot of those shapes are the same shapes that are movable, is because he would use his thumb
because that's what he could do,
and he'd slide them up. He had an incredibly like the best right hand technique ever, in my opinion, flat picking wise. And just could do it like a machine. And he could do that like that before, you know, he lost the fingers on his left hand. But I think that made him even more dedicated to developing his right hand technique. And like what you were just doing, they call that like the pomp with you know, that kind of like and then they do those crazy triplets where it starts. You see like their hands start blurring into into nothing when they start doing that.
Yeah, the right hand on, you know, those guys. That's almost more impressive than all the melodic and harmonic stuff that's happened in the left. hand.
You couldn't do it without it, because they also run those notes. One of the crazy Django technique, because he had limited fingers.
Yeah.
Is that he would run up the chromatic scale from like the low E string to the highest note on the high E string in like a couple seconds. So he'd run and then he'd just zip his hand up, but it would all be in time with his right hand.
Yeah.
And
it's like the right hand that's keeping it all together.
And you can see like Andreas Oberg in that one kept going after he left the fretboard with his nail. And so he just kept going up the sound hole. And that's one of those techniques with those players like that. Who's that? John Jorgensen is a killer.
Yes.
He plays all kinds of different styles, but him playing that kind of gypsy jazz style is amazing too. He's one of those people doing it now that's just killing it, and he can take that technique and apply it to other styles. He's got a great lesson on YouTube. I think it's still there. But he basically, the whole lesson, he teaches a bluegrass player how to play that gypsy jazz style, and so he talks
Okay.
about the differences with the
I gotta
flat
find
picks. It's
I got-
awesome. You should check it out. Yeah,
That's I'm writing that one down. That's Jorgensen, right?
yeah, John Jorgensen, and again, and it's a good thing is because a lot of people who can flat pick really well can't play that style of guitar playing, and it's because it requires a certain type of pick. Like the picks are super thick and they're really big, and you have a different approach to playing it. They're filed down differently.
Interesting.
And, there's different notes you don't hit. Like you don't do a lot of dominant sevens. That's kind of like a
Really?
note that kind of kills the vibe in that style of music. And also like the devil's note, like the best note ever, the flat 5 is like a big one. A lot of dominant stuff, that it's kind of like and again, I can't. I've lost my flat pick here, but
so you're saying the flat 5 is used all the time, but dominant, like just 1 3 5 flat
the
7s,
dominant
like
7,
stay
yeah,
away
it's a lot of chromatic stuff, a lot of like hitting the note underneath going up, and like the whole like
Yeah.
kind of like stuff like that, where it's kind of pattern based, but it's mainly patterns based on arpeggios instead of scale forms. And it's really interesting how, and I'm totally oversimplifying it, and probably if anyone really seriously played that kind of music, they'd be picking me apart right now for saying all of that. But that's because there's so much tradition behind it.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
but yeah, check out that video with John
I
Jorgensen.
will.
That's one of my favorite resources for like just a blatant kind of introduction to those techniques with that kind of music. But what you see with that video is how far you can take it. I mean, it blows my mind. They don't have any distortion to hide behind, purely
Yeah.
acoustic.
Yep.
And
yep.
it's just like naked shredding, it's like
Yeah.
nothing to hide behind.
I get,
awesome.
dude. I hear that. That's how you know who's for real and who's not. If you can do it stone cold clean on an acoustic,
It's hard enough to do in any context, but yeah, like, and how
Totally.
loud they're playing. Like, I remember one of the things always set in with me
they're
is
digging in.
like Django Reinhardt cut his teeth, and like, like I was talking about playing in like dive bars, things like that. When I started playing, he was playing in these like Eastern European weird bars where he was accompanying a bagpipe player who had like tambourines attached to his ankles. So he had to cut through acoustically in a room full of people against a bagpipe, and it's like you just have to learn how to play as loud as you possibly can with that kind of music.
Yeah. Let's go back to this question we missed before from Anthony. The song you did at NAMM 17 with the Tonewood amp.
Yeah.
See, Anthony, I didn't forget you.
So yeah, I'm still in open G. So that one was it was a tune. I was doing I did a video that's on my YouTube channel from that performance, but I was at the Tonewood amp booth, and they make those kind of like things that you attach to the back of the acoustic guitar that can project effects out of your acoustic guitar. And there was like my favorite effect from that was the echo effect, and it was kind of like the most obvious too to like hear when you're doing that kind of thing. But so I started, and it was kind of an improvisation that I was playing there at the booth. And so I started kind of just like with a bass, and I don't have the echo right now, but
Right.
it was, and then I hear like, bum, 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 and that would kind of give it. So I always do that at the beginning of an echo song because it sounds cool, but it also lets me know what tempo I should play at. So it's,
Yeah.
and then just.
Yeah, that's a hot groove.
I do that kind of like Delta blues walk down, but slap bass style.
Oh, yeah.
guys.
Dude, I love those little triplet runs that you do. That.
That song is
I
funny because
love those.
I posted that video online, and Bootsy Collins reached out to me. You know, one of the best, funkiest mother. You know, I don't know what
That
they-
ever
their
lived.
cuss, yeah, but you know, Bootsy Collins reached out, and we ended up co-writing a song based on that performance at
No.
NAMM, and it's called Boomerang. It was on his last album called Worldwide Funk, and the song's called Boomerang. He reached out to me and said, "Hey, can you like basically send me that track and let me do my thing on it?" And so that me playing that guitar part was the basis for that song Boomerang, which he ended up recording on his last album. It was awesome.
That is awesome. I am such a huge Bootsy, P-Funk, early James Brown fan.
Oh,
Just
man,
like,
me too.
dude, oh my God. I'm going to write that down. Boomerang,
Boomerang.
Bootsy. That is so cool. Did you actually get together with Bootsy?
We didn't get together in person to do it, but we have, you know, before, but not for that track. Unfortunately, I would have loved to have been there in the studio and playing it together. But
Yeah.
I think him and a lot of producers, you know, that do that kind of music, especially, it's like it's part of the art form. I think to kind of get a piece here, spend the time and just kind of like immerse yourself in it by yourself and get creative and come up with all these layers and all of these sounds and all of those cool production factors that go into like that really nasty, awesome funk music.
Dude, I love it so much. Yeah, I'm a huge funk fan, and yeah, getting some of that dirty funk, you know, in your acoustic blues is just that's where it's at, man. That's the good stuff. You got a
Oh,
great
yeah.
you got a great groove. I can tell you love that stuff. That is so cool that you doing that, you know, Bootsy reached out to you and you got to work with him. That's cool as shit, man.
Man, it was awesome. He's such a cool dude too. He's such a nice guy,
And he's like 9
he
feet
reminds me a
tall,
lot
right?
of like, what's that?
And he's like 9 feet tall, right?
Yeah, he is tall. Yeah, I can't tell. You know, it might be like he might be wearing some crazy high heels. I don't know. You never know. But he reminds me a lot of like interview footage I've seen with Jimi Hendrix, where you know it's like the combination of someone who's really open and really flamboyant, but also really shy and really just kind of down to earth at the same time, but kind of both extremes at the same time. You know.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
really downplayed, really nice, really you know, kind of almost shy in person, but then incredibly outgoing and incredibly flamboyant too, and as an entertainer, you know what I mean? And I think that's one of the coolest ways to be as an entertainer.
Yeah, dude, I'm such a huge fan. All right, let's double back here for a second. All right, so we've gone through your tracks, we've gone through the super chats. I don't believe I've missed anybody. Mods, you guys are crushing it out there. You're dropping all the links. Remember, Justin's doing a Black Friday sale. You drop the links to your 900,000 subscriber guitar giveaway. We've talked about your DVDs. We've talked about that, you know, your new shovel guitar that you got. I saw one comment about the Whiskey Barrel guitar that it mentions on your website, but that you didn't have a picture of it. Do you have one with you?
Yeah, I've got the this one right here.
Oh, Vandy, I bet you did. I bet you did, sir. Yes, there you go.
And this is the one. This is the first one that was ever made.
Let me zoom
You
in
know,
on you.
I worked with a great builder, Big D Guitars. He was in Nashville when we met. He's in Chicago now, but we both had kind of concept, and I've always wanted to kind of play a guitar out of a whiskey barrel, like a Jack Daniel's whiskey barrel.
Yeah.
And him being a builder on the other side of it for a long time, he'd been thinking the same thing. Like, because first of all, oak's a great hardwood. It's not used a lot as tone woods, I think, but it's still a great hardwood that can be used as a tone wood, and it sounds killer. But the fact that like all of the whiskey barrels, Jack Daniel's, most whiskey barrels, most Scotch barrels, everything like that are oak barrels. And that's all this wood that doesn't do anything after it makes whiskey. But the whiskey distillation process, I think, kind of adds that mojo, and it just makes it cooler. And kind of, I've always wanted to play a guitar like that and get that vibe. The back is barnwood, so you can see it's like 200-year-old Tennessee barnwood on the back. It's a 3-ply kind of body, chambered in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And all the necks are oak on the ones that we make. This was the first one he made, and it's a solid rosewood neck, which is incredibly heavy. Like this one, I don't think this one actually is chambered. This one is really heavy, and that's part of the reason why
it looks heavy.
We did oak on the neck and then chambered the body. But you can see I've toured with this one quite a bit. I've beaten the hell out of it over the years. It's got some nice gaff tape holding the pickup still on the front, because I do a lot of slapping on it and just basically tearing it apart as best I can.
I love it.
And,
can we hear how that one sounds?
Yeah. Let me tune it up really quick. I always lose tuners.
Dude,
I
hear you.
I need a moderator just to find my tuners. I wish we had one of those.
You were going to send me into a gypsy jazz spiral, my friend. I can feel it.
Oh man, that's the best spiral to go down. I'm telling you. You're gonna have to get one of those crazy jazz acoustic guitars. You know what I mean? Like those ones with
Yes.
the oval sound holes. Those what are they?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess that helps with the volume, right? So that's meant to have it really just cut through.
Well, there was a guitar. God, I'm trying to remember if it was a Hofner, what it was, that Django played traditionally, and it doesn't have a lot of low end. It cuts through. It's got a real like sharp kind of mid range cut to it. And when he just plucks those strings as hard as he does, and it punches it out like that, it just has that distinct sort of gypsy jazz vibe to it.
Yeah.
And those guitars, though, that are built like the ones that he was playing back then are so unique and so difficult to make and incredibly expensive now.
Yeah.
But I know a lot of like traditional style builders are still building guitars like that. Let's see, I gotta.
Sounds big. Sounds big. Yes.
I got kind of a bass drum effect there.
That thing sounds very metallic and big and heavy.
Yeah, it's it's totally different. It's mean, I love it. It sounds like one of those juke joint guitars. That's how I like to think about it. It's like those guitars you find that weren't supposed to be nice in a way, like those old cheap vintage guitars that somehow sound way better than all of the really nice polished guitars that come out. And those are just kind of like, I don't know, magic instruments. But that's what's nice about this. It kind of has that chaotic quality and that still clean. It's still powerful, but it has a classic vibe to it. And the humbuckers we put on these are all like hand wound, scatter wound, like PAF style humbuckers.
Yeah.
Kind of like a vintage wound telly style pickup. So kind of all going back to those more vintage qualities, but it's sort of like you have an old Les Paul on the neck and you have an old telly on the bridge, and it doesn't get much better than that. You know what I mean?
I do. So John asks, what slide are you using? Is it snug or is it kind of loose?
Oh, that's a great question, because that's with slide playing. I think that's one of the big, misconceptions, I'd say. I'm using my signature slide. So this is my Justin Johnson. There's my signature on it. My Justin Johnson signature slide. Jim Dunlop makes these for me, and it's a ceramic slide. It's a stoneware, super, super dense. And it's a special kind of ceramic on this slide that they actually used to make like bells out of. It's so dense and so resonant. It's really cool. But as far as the size goes, there's 3 sizes. And when I was trying to decide what sizes to offer with something that's got my name on it, I take it really seriously and want it to be just right for people who use it. I think it's best. I always say that there's 2 types of slide players. There's most of the time, there's people who play on their ring finger and people who play on their pinky finger. If you play on your pinky finger, the slide goes all the way to this knuckle right here. If you play on your ring finger, it goes to this knuckle. So you can still have, your ring on. But so basically the reason behind that is that when you're playing, you still have full range of motion, even if your pinky's straight. And it's also easier to hold onto the slide with your pinky if your pinky is completely inside the slide. With your ring finger, if you bend it, you have full range of motion of your other fingers, but your finger has to be bent in order to do it. If it was all the way here, it would cripple the other fingers. They wouldn't be able to move as much. I'd have this weird finger just sticking out. With this, I can play, total range of motion with my other fingers that way. So when you're measuring the feel of the slide, you want it to go comfortably, basically as small as it can go without being tight, up to this knuckle if you're going with your ring finger. Same thing with your pinky, as small as it can go without being tight. You don't want it to be tight. I don't think that helps at all. Some people think it has to be tight because if it's not, it's going to fly off or something like that. But the key there is, like this would easily slide off my finger the way it fits. But because I bend my finger inside, like I'm bending it like that against the wall of the slide, there's no way it comes off, even if I'm not touching anything else. And that's just learning how to control the slide on the inside. That's what's important about that. So it doesn't have to fit tightly on your finger.
Right.
Again, the key, and I guess the shortest way to say it is, when you're finding the slide out of the different sizes, you want it to fit comfortably, but not tightly. And I can play a much bigger slide without any problems because, again, you just bend your finger on the inside. You can play a much bigger slide. And honestly, the bigger the slide is, the thicker the walls, the more mass it has, the more sustain it's going to have. Little like thin glass slides, they can sound great if you're playing like a Les Paul through a big amp that's really loud. You're going to have sustain anyways. But if you're playing acoustic, let's say, it's not going to have any sustain at all almost. And it's going to sound really wimpy compared to something that's like thick metal or in this case, like a thick ceramic slide. Ceramic's a lot lighter than metal too. And you get a glassy tone because it's got kind of a glassy surface, but you get more of a metal sustain. A metal slide has a kind of a brassier tone and it sort of scratches the strings. You hear the slide more with a metal slide. That's not always bad, but I like the slide to sound kind of transparent, but still have a lot of sustain. And that's why I like the ceramic one. And, again, I think there's sort of like a few techniques that I've learned over the years. One of the best ones, like techniques that you don't have to actually be holding a guitar to practice guitar with. One of the best techniques I can suggest, and I'm totally serious about this, it's incredibly helpful, is to wear the slide. If you want to play slide, wear it all day long for like 2 or 3 days solid. Like
Get
I'm
used to it
talking
being a part of your finger.
in the shower, driving. I mean, like, don't maybe not driving. Like, I don't want to get in trouble for saying it, but like, no heavy machinery. But I mean, like, when I got serious about playing slide, I was so frustrated actually practicing that I would just wear it on my hand for days on end, and eventually it becomes part of your body. It's almost like you can't feel your fingernails, but you get used to them being there after a while. And so
I
the
get it.
slide is the same way. Same thing with thumb picks.
Took the words out of my mouth. Yep.
Yeah, you just wear the thumb pick. You don't have to even know how to play it yet. Just wear it for days, like seriously, until you forget it's there. Once you forget it's there and you start using it to scratch you start like it becomes part of your body. That's when you can actually start playing it like an instrument because it's part of your body now. You own it. And I think that makes the whole thing easier. That'll solve a lot of frustration.
Yeah, that is actually really, really good advice. I mean, I tell people that with just the guitar in general. If you just keep it strapped on you,
Absolutely.
you
Sleep
know what I
with
mean?
it. Yeah, like,
you
like
sit
sit
with
on
it. You're doing emails. Have it there. The more an inanimate object
Yeah.
is just a part of you, you make that connection. I mean, it's definitely true.
You're the only person I've heard other person say that, but I tell like anyone I've had like instructed in that kind of way. It's like, look, if you're a beginner at guitar, do this. Like point at things with the guitar.
Yeah.
It's like you learn how to
Totally.
make it part of your body. You're not sitting there with it like it's an inanimate object and it's falling around your lap and you're having to hold the headstock up because it's not balanced right.
I'm telling you, I'm so happy that you said that because I'm such a strong advocate of that. It is so true. Just having it in your hands or even strapped on your back or just around, having it be a thing where it's literally just a part of you so that every time you pick it up, it's not this foreign entity. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's great. It's great advice. And along the notes of the slide, you reminded me of something when you said that, glass is great for when you're playing electric and you get the sustain from the amp. But when you want that weight and the sustain of the steel for acoustic or that, it reminded me of, I remember I was watching a Doc Watson video and his son Merle, he was saying that he used to go to Sears and just go get Craftsman sockets because you could find the exact size for your finger, and they were the perfect weight, and the way how it was smooth, like the finish on it, was that perfect balance of what you're talking about, where like you hear the metal, like the scratchiness, but it's not going to be transparent like the porcelain, but that he always played those Craftsman slides for that reason. He could find the right size, and it was the perfect finish and the perfect weight
yeah.
for acoustic.
And I think Lowell George, also played a socket all the time, and he had killer sustain and tone on his guitar. Plus, like a lot of those like lap steel players, it's always like a big solid hunk of metal, and that's why I think I always thought that lap steels just had more sustain, but I think it's just that they had huge hunks of metal in their hand, and that was a big part of it. But
Yeah.
man, like you talking about Doc Watson, him other than Django Reinhardt, like Doc Watson with flat picking with acoustic guitar is just one of my biggest influences.
Me too.
And one of my biggest heroes. And talking
too.
about watching people, his technique, I remember like trying so long to like he inspired me to learn flat picking when I was really mainly interested in finger picking. But I remember playing a DVD and I muted it because I was going to like talk on the phone or something like that. And I remember looking at the DVD on mute and his hand just was going up and down constantly.
Yeah.
and I thought he was playing rhythm, and then when I unmuted it, he was playing lead, and
Yeah.
he was just shredding like this very articulate, lead part, but his hand looked like he was playing rhythm, and I couldn't understand. That was the first time I realized like he is a strict up and down every note player, and it's a big part of his tone is that like massive follow through that he has with his right hand. And that's why I think all of his notes ring out so well and so beautifully is because he has this like almost like a strum, but he hits a single note. I don't know how he does it.
Yeah, Doc Watson, he was the one for me that got me, that I really got bit by that bluegrass bug and got into the whole Appalachian, kind of style music. When I'd been an electric player my whole life, and he was the one that really turned my whole world upside down. And I studied his stuff for a bunch of years, and he's definitely one of my top 5 influences. I would say easily. His playing the fiddle lines, the way that he did it, and then comping the rhythm parts, voice leading everything, and then just his perfect voice, and just the way there was just something about. I mean, yeah, he's blind, and there's just something about how it was always just like effortless, like you're sitting in his living room, and it was. And did you
Effortless is
did you ever
exactly
get to
it, yeah.
did you ever get to see him?
I did, yeah, a couple times, and it's awesome.
I saw him only once before he died. He came out to L.A. I think David Holt was touring with him,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
and
He's
and
killer. David Holt's killer also,
dude,
but yeah,
David Holt's awesome,
good person to be back in DACA for sure.
dude. Yeah, and they were doing this had to be 2004 or 5ish or something like that, and they were doing a song telling a story, and they were in this great room. I don't know, maybe 1,500 seats max, but I forget where, south of LA. It was like an hour or so drive from where I was living in Hollywood, and one of the best moments of the whole thing is just he did "Amazing Grace" a cappella.
Oh
Right?
man,
Just no guitar, anything, and it was one of those rare musical performances where it was almost like the audience was like you would go see a symphony, like a classical, like it was
exactly.
it's
Yeah,
super quiet,
so much respect.
so much respect. Like you hear the squeaking in the chair and the tiny little cough, and like you look around, and his voice, he had to be deep in his 80s then, was so rich and so full and powerful. And there's just something about the way, from that part of America, that he sung that tune. It was one of the most profound shows I've ever seen in my life. Like I'm a huge Doc Watson fan. I cannot stress it enough.
I love it, man. Me too. And I like you talking about those a cappella songs. He masters everything he does. Like hearing him on harmonica, hearing him
Dude.
on vocal. He can Travis pick on harmonica.
I-
It's like, what are you
it's
doing?
true.
It's
true.
crazy.
It
Like
is-
and
It's almost
like,
as crazy as that he wired his whole house for electricity blind.
It doesn't surprise because he always. I remember like interviews with him. He'd always say he wished he could have been an engineer and like if he wasn't a musician.
Yeah.
Like it just.
Yeah.
I never heard that story. That makes total sense though, because he is an engineer. I mean, the way he does it, he's so technical and so perfect with what he's doing.
He ran plumbing and electricity to his house blind.
He didn't say it worked though.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know, but yeah, you're so right about the harmonica playing too. No, he was truly incredible, and we are so lucky that we got some footage of him. For anybody that hasn't seen it, that's into that type of music, there's some great footage of him doing not just the flat picking tunes, but his great. He had such a cool thumb pick and first finger technique to do
that,
like
that Merle Travis, yeah,
that it's gonna sound like piss on the electric, but that
oh yeah.
yeah, dude, yeah. See, but I do that, with, I mean, I have to use a few fingers. He would do the thumb pick, and he would do it with just the thumb pick and the first finger, which is so hard. So for anybody
man, yeah.
watching, he would have that, like, you got the bass note, and he would do just with the thumb,
Yeah.
and then he would use the first finger to kind of get the middle parts,
I love that.
Right.
What was it, like Live in New York? I think that album or something like that. It was the first. I have this cassette tape that was left in my car when I was driving a lot, and it was Doc. It was the first I ever heard of him. It was on, and it was like way after a cassette tape. It was like the only cassette tape I'd seen in like 10 years. But
Yeah.
I played it, and it was cool too because it had that old like scratchy tape sound. But
Yeah.
he would talk a lot. I like Doc Watson talking is almost as good as him playing too. Just 'cause
dude,
it's-
I couldn't agree more, man.
But he'd say like I always remember that story because that's how I learned Travis picking was from that tape. And he said I learned this. He was talking about that Deep River Blues like you were just playing, and he'd say he learned that first part, and he'd play that.
Yeah.
And he'd say, it took me about 10 years to learn the other part, and that's when he'd start that.
Yeah. Yeah, so you got the bounce right. Yeah, dude, it's such good stuff. I'm just gonna play a little bit of it just because.
Yeah.
To blues now. For instance, a blues that might have been kind of popular in the days of the steamboat, or just a smaller boat that some fella had, and he kind of got the blues for the river. He got fed up with everything around him, and he wanted to go somewhere. The tune called Deep River Blues, or Big River Blues sometimes. Let it rain a whole lot more, Lord. I got them deep river blues. Let the rain drive right on, let the waves sweep along, Lord. I got them deep river blues. My old gal's a good old pal. She walks just like a waterfowl. If I get them deep river blues, there ain't no one to cry for me, and the fish all go out on a spree when I get them deep river blues.
I mean, it's just so much power too.
Oh yeah.
Did you hear
So
how,
much
like,
projection? Yeah.
So much projection. You hear how, like, he's like jumping across the beat, and like he's
Slinging the vocals and the bass line straight. The
Yeah.
fingers are syncopated. His vocals are syncopated on a different level. So good.
Dude, it's unbelievable. And then he hits those, like it's just, but it's like razor sharp.
No one can do it like that. It's crazy, It's like
It's
I'm so glad that you're like such a Doc Watson fan too. That's great.
Oh, dude, no. I mean, he's you know, he's on the top of the mountain, man.
Did you ever hear the this album that I got with just all the recordings that he did, just him and Bill Monroe, like as a duet?
I'm sure I have. I don't remember the name of it. I don't.
It's crazy because it's just a bunch of live recordings of him and Bill Monroe, and they're both such, you know, kind of like bluegrass shredders, but in that like first generation of bluegrass shredders.
Yeah.
And I could tell they must have like a total kind of like love, but also competition with one another. So they keep speeding songs up, and it's those recordings specifically with Doc Watson playing with Bill Monroe is like the fastest I've ever heard Doc play those flat picking things.
I'm gonna write that down too.
It's crazy. It's just like Doc Watson shredding. It's awesome,
dude. I'm going to look that up. I have 3 things to look up from here. I have Doc and Bill Monroe, Boomerang and Bootsy, and then the John Jorgensen doing the bluegrass gypsy jazz tutorial.
Those are good things to look up.
Yeah, man. All right. Well, dude, it's been a couple hours. Anything else you want to add? Any other questions you saw fly by? Moderators, you've been crushing it out there again.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Oh,
Moderators,
dude.
Thank you guys for tuning in. You know, I'm just having fun, man. I appreciate you inviting me onto your show. I appreciate all you guys watching this. I could say, like, you know, I definitely want to encourage you guys to check out my YouTube channel at Justin Johnson Live. You know, YouTube Justin Johnson Live.
Links are in the description.
I've got my guitar giveaway you can check out on my channel, where I give away a new guitar every 100,000 subscribers. And basically just put a bunch of music out, a bunch of, you know, lessons, unboxings, talking about guitars. It's everything we're doing here, everything we love doing. And plenty more of it. I've got my signature slides, guitars, thumb picks, shot glasses, all of that stuff at my store, justinjohnsonstore.com. And I'm running a big Black Friday sale right now for everything like that. But you know, mainly I'm just having fun and want to thank you guys for tuning in.
Well, I really appreciate it, man, and I hope that you know, you get some new subscribers from here. I know I got some new subscribers from doing that react video of your video, so I hope you enjoyed that. A lot of people, you know, the views are doing well, so I certainly enjoyed it. And again, thank you so much. If you guys haven't, all the links are in the description to his channel. If you check out the mods in there, they've dropped links to his 900,000 subscriber guitar giveaway. He's got his tutorials and slides and everything else on his website. And dude, I really appreciate it. I love talking to people who are into gypsy jazz, into Doc Watson, and just that's what I love about this channel, man. We do so many random and different things, different genres, different people, and it's been a real pleasure, my friend.
Likewise, man. Thanks again, and thanks to you, Vandy, also out there, brother.
Yeah, Vandy is the man. I wholeheartedly will take my mod squad against any other on the internet. We have a great group, dude.
Awesome, man.
So yeah, all you mods, thank you so much. Thank you, John. Thank you, Garrick. Thank you, Skylar. Thank you, Devoted to Mariah, Becky. You know, with so many good people out there. Anthony. Oregon, you got Adam, Brian Burke, Michael Martin. Thank you so much. Thank you for everybody that super chatted. I greatly appreciate it. And again, I split all my donations with my guests. So Justin, I'll shoot that to you. And that is it. All right, Justin, you stay right there. Again, have a great Tuesday night, everyone. Take care. Thank you for tuning in. You guys are the best. Sincerely appreciate it and all the love. And see you soon.